We're talking about A Way Out. It's the game that is captivating, confusing. You might recognize it as the game who's being made or being led by Josef Fares, who gives very bombastic interviews. He's on the GI show over E3 and screamed to the mic a lot and swore a lot and scared Tim Schafer, I think, who was sitting on the couch next to him. And he said F the Oscars and everything. But this is his first game with the new Hazelight Studios, but he also made Brothers: Tale of Two Sons. Kato, A Way Out. Were you intrigued before you went in? Give me your evolution of A Way Out interest.
Yeah, I was very intrigued, and like a lot of you, I think I had the same impression of Mr. Fares. You know what I mean? Like his passion, as they say, really comes through. And I had a meeting at E3 where, he set up the game and showed me some stuff or whatever. And so that was kind of cool to get that was the first impression, in the sense that you had a person here who was speaking directly about the project, but it wasn't just like, oh, here it is in the press conference, or here it is. It was before the EA E3 press conference, by the way. It wasn't just that, or it wasn't just a fact sheet that gets thrown in your inbox. It was like, here's the developer who's going to talk about something that is clearly very, kind of personal to them.
Yeah, it's dripping with enthusiasm. And the actual game itself, I mean, would you describe it as just a weird co-op action-adventure, or what's the genre this thing ultimately boils down to?
Yeah, I would say it's very much a co-op action-adventure. I wouldn't say it's weird, and I'll say that in a couple ways. One is all the co-op stuff that you're going on. So you're seeing, like you're talking about, split screen, horizontal, vertical, all that kind of stuff, no diagonal though, is that it's all seamless. It all works. So even if, let's say, it's horizontal, I'm up here, Ben's down here, and then it might switch appropriately during one scene because the action dictates it. It might switch, to vertical, and all that sort of stuff. You can see it happening, but it doesn't distract you from what you need to do. Even if, let's say, I know, okay, I'm on the left because I'm this character, I'm Vincent, let's say, and Leo's over here as Ben. I may even kind of look over what he's doing time to time, just to say, like, oh, he's got himself in a pickle there, or he's strangling some dude out or something. Well,
Sounds like Leo, all right?
Yeah, Leo.
This is character Leo, not Leo in the booth, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, Leo, have you ever strangled anybody out?
That's a good question.
I can comment. For him.
Wow.
That's right. I was pending. I understand how that goes. But
why I say weird, Kato, is because this is a game you cannot play by yourself, even if you want to. As Ben Reeves and I both learned last night, as we're trying to get crossplay working, and it wasn't working very well.
Did not work.
I
was pretty excited to break out of the prison, but
this is press pre-release issues.
Couldn't break into EA's prison.
Yeah, and I've tested that, by the way, actually, and it all works. It all works fine. It actually works in the voice as well. So me and intern John, we had headsets on, and we're obviously communicating and stuff like that.
But what's awesome is this game's like I think it's like $30, and the cool part is you don't need to buy 2 copies. You can, if you have 1 copy, you can rope a friend in. It'll let them download it and play with you, which
for free on their end.
Yeah, has it ever been done? That's such an awesome idea.
There was like Far Cry, 4 gave you codes to like play. I don't know if they could play the full game, but they could definitely play with you.
Yeah, you're totally
for free.
Right.
So I think other games have experimented with it, but like on this level, I can't think of another game that's gone like, here's the whole game.
Yeah.
But you have to, because you can't play single player.
Right, and you can play randomly online, which I think could be a fascinating journey-like experience. So I watched you play a little bit yesterday, Kato. What I'm still trying to figure out about the game is like, the objectives seem very simple from at least the section I saw, where it's like, okay, go here, get this item, bring it over here, brothers-like style objectives. But is there a lot of opportunity for like trolling your co-op partner? Because that's like peak co-op, is messing with your buddy. Is there?
Sure.
Are there going to be situations, if you play this locally in a room or online, where you and your friends are going to scream at each other and say, "You idiot, what are you doing?"
I think there might be some of that, just because maybe hang around idiots.
Exclusively.
Something that happens to a lot
every
of us.
day at work, yeah.
But I wouldn't, and there are open world elements in the sense that you could go, play some baseball, like have one person pitch, have another person bat, and you're throwing curveballs or whatever.
So by open world activities, you mean just like you can dick around with like little side quests,
I'm sorry.
and stuff?
The phrase open world, I know it's kind of loaded, so let me, explain that properly.
Sure.
Certainly you can walk around the world and go find things and do things that are not related to, let's say, if you're in a chase sequence, you're in a chase sequence. But if, let's say, you're just walking around looking to see how to get past this particular gate, or before you're going to do something in particular, you can do those things. But I really didn't find those aspects are there, and there's a lot of them in there. And I think that they color the world and they try to set up, make the world a real place. But I got to be honest with you, I felt that they were so peripheral a lot of times, and so just sort of like, okay, we're two fugitives on the run. Let's play some darts. You know what I mean?
Well,
It really didn't add a lot. And so to back to your original question of like, are you going to be trolling your friends?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you can go run around and bump into each other, or like, play some games.
Sounds
but
pretty good.
Sounds pretty good.
I just don't feel that I don't feel it's the level of what you're getting at, because
It's
a
more
lot of your
straightforward.
interactions are very straightforward, very simple.
I don't know what I expected from this game, but I was talking to intern John, who played it with you, and he's like, "Oh, there's a bunch of mini games in the game," and he's like ranking them and like sort of listing them out to me, and I was like, "What is this? It sounds like this game. Like these two guys break out of prison and then they spend the next 8 hours just playing every game they run across on their journey through." It's like, "Oh, here's some darts. Let's play that. Oh, here's a soccer field. Let's go play."
The greatest game of all, choking out people that live in a farmhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, in the sense that, not to say the game as a whole is frivolous or is wacky or zany. I think it maintains a tone for its characters, and I think that it does have its story. It follows its story and completes its story in the way it wants to. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like the vision is complete, but I do think that those particular elements that we're talking about, like playing the games and stuff, like. And I'm guessing here, but I think it's a measure to try to say like, hey, this is a world, and you have some freedom into it, and it's not just about, doing rapid button presses to get out of a chokehold.
It's much less telltale than you think.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's an attempt to do that and to flesh out the world, but I didn't find it interesting or that well implemented.
Well, it seems like Josef Fares talks a big game for story-wise, and he came from the world of film, right? Like, so sounds like the gameplay is not good, but even story is also not, like the characters aren't interesting. It's not, the story is not there.
You're leading the witness, Reeves.
The story.
Excuse me. Is the story there?
Define if. No, I think that the story, it's pretty simple, which is not a problem. I mean, you have your two convicts who need to escape out of prison, which, that's not a spoiler. That's well known. And you sort of have a shared you have a shared adversary, which is kind of what drives you on. And it's simple in the sense that it works and it doesn't get in its way, and it's not about twists for twist's sake or anything like that.
But were you
It all
engaged?
works. And I did like the ending. So let me back up and say I did like the ending, and where some things come together, and where some, themes and plot points are, I think, successfully reinforced. But I would say that it's a game, and so you're playing it for about 6 hours, right?
Okay.
So if between the setup and the end, and you're doing these things in the middle, there's banter and there's talk between the two of them, but it's the game, that gameplay in that world, that I think doesn't reinforce the story enough to be like, you know what? I was on this 6 hour crazy thing. I was drained at the end, and I was so connected with these characters. Because let me contrast it, if I may, with a popular game that has certainly a bigger budget, but I think I kept thinking while I was playing A Way Out, it's not like Uncharted.
Right.
Uncharted is a game that successfully, although it had its action problems in the first couple iterations, but when it got towards the end, it was like the gameplay and the action could carry me. The story, the character interactions, and with the banter and like the way the dialogue and where the voice lines were written and everything, I believed in those characters. I cared about those characters, and that was another thread that followed me from beginning to end. Those are the kind of things that A Way Out doesn't do as successfully.
That's a high bar to clear, though.
It is. But again, and that doesn't make A Way Out a bad game, but in terms of like, the story, and you're talking about the characters grabbing you, that's something that, it's not like, oh, they're horrible. It's just that I didn't get that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up Naughty Dog, the cream of the crop, but seeing a little bit of the game yesterday, it was a much higher production level than I was expecting. Maybe I'm just so used to the Life is Strange, Telltale mold. I was kind of expecting it to be more in that vein, but there's like crazy car chase sequence and stuff where it's like they spent some money on this game. The production value's up there, man.
Yeah, and it looks good. I mean, it does look good. It's just, I think, One of the other things I want to mention real quick, and I mentioned this in my review, but it's like you're talking about like the characters and whether I believe them and I was invested in them to the end. And one of the gameplay things that I don't think necessarily matches up is that so you have sort of choice points where it's like, okay, we have these people in the farmhouse. Are we gonna sort of divert their attention by letting out the horses out of their barn so they go and chase the horses? Or are we going to literally subdue them to sort of so they don't, cause us trouble so we can, steal their truck and be on our way? Well, one of them represents kind of the hothead character's way of doing things. Guess which one it is. And the other one's the more practical guy's way of doing things. Well, if you choose, let's say, the hothead way you can choose, let's say, to subdue the couple, and there's no consequence in the sense that you're always going to end up at the end with the same cutscene where you know what I mean? And it's not like if you choose the hot-headed ways, Leo's way all the time, it's not like all of a sudden that's going to create some sort of character moment or character progression for the other guy.
It's giving the appearance of choice much more than it's actually diverging.
And it's not, like we talk about Telltale, it's not a choice-based game.
Yeah.
But that's one of those ways where like the gameplay and the story, they don't necessarily come together and follow through on this in the same way where you're just like, oh, I guess I could have just chose anything and it wouldn't have.
But it's weird to present a bunch of choices and then they don't ultimately mean anything.
Yeah. I mean, the story gets there in the end anyway, but like you said, you're just there asking yourself, oh, we'll just do it any old way.
I feel bummed. I feel like I was kind of excited about this game. I actually made a pact with Kyle because I thought he'd be reviewing it for some reason.
Did you guys do the old...
Yeah, we sliced our knives.
Oh, those old hotheads.
Yeah.
Shook our hand and then,
you could do that.
drew something on the ground. I won't tell you what. But I was excited to play it and because I really liked Brothers. And as I've been reflecting on like what you've been saying on this game, I'm reflecting on Brothers and I'm like, did I really like Brothers? Because I'm like, my time with that game, it was really just, you get to the end of the game and like there's a really strong moment at the end of the game. Right. I think that's what I really liked about Brothers was that strong moment. But the rest of the game was kind of like, it was okay.
It was fine.
Yeah. I mean, and so I kind of wonder if this is the game, like this is what they did with Brothers. This is largely, it's okay. They did kind of what they did, and it's just missing that one strong moment.
I mentioned how I like the ending. I think I can't speak for you. I can speak for everybody. I think there is the way it comes together at the end. I think is satisfying. How strong it is. I'm not going to say, but I did find that when I got to the end, it's like, okay. I like how that came together. I just think that there's when you add more gameplay, when you broaden things out, for this game, when you can tell that not everything comes together, that does sort of weaken things a bit. But I mean, I would say, sort of 10,000-foot view. If you're intrigued by the game and you're like, you know what, I'm going to play with so-and-so and they're kind of interested in this game.
Yeah.
I think because you can do the whole co-op thing or whatever and do it, online, like we were saying at the beginning. I do think it's worth it to try it out because it's not like I said, it's not a failure. It's just that like I can see things that don't come together, I think, the way that they're supposed to.
It's almost like you're describing a Game Informer 7 out of 10 game. You got
it probably got somewhere between a 7.25 and a 7.25 and a 6.75. Somewhere between those
somewhere in that
two.
window.
Yes.
All right. If you want to learn more, you can check out Cutto's review. A Way Out, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.